And we're live once again. Welcome back to another episode of the MongoDB Podcast Live. My name is Michael Lynn, and I am a developer advocate at MongoDB. So happy to be here with you today. Welcome to all of those joining. Today we've got a really interesting episode. Who's not concerned as a developer, who's not concerned with developing applications efficiently, faster, better, and with really good solid tools in the background in the stack. Today we're going to be talking with Kevin Blanco of Appsmith. Appsmith is a platform that enables you to rapidly develop applications using a low code, no code approach. We're going to get all the details from Kevin all about that. But in the meantime, as you're coming into the stream, let us know where you're from. Always love to see where folks are joining from. I'm on the East Coast of the United States, little town called Newtown, Pennsylvania. Let us know where you're coming from and what you're interested in low code, no code solutions is. If you've used them before, if you've used Appsmith, let us know what you're building. I want to find out what the audience is building today. I've messed with, I've researched Appsmith and gone into the platform and was able to really quickly develop a couple page application, and the interface is so slick. We're going to show it today. Kevin's going to give us a demonstration. We're also going to talk a little bit more in detail about the intersection between data and application development, and specifically how Appsmith and MongoDB work well together. So I'm really excited to dive into that. Get your questions ready if you're curious about rapid application development, about low code, no code approaches. Kevin and I will do our best to answer those. So I think we've teased you enough. So without further ado, let's bring Kevin on stage. Hey, Kevin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Michael, for having me. I'm extremely excited to talk about all of these exciting things you mentioned. And yeah, everyone, share your comments, your questions, because we're about to kick in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to give you the award, Kevin. You've got the MongoDB Podcast Live thumbnail with the coolest headshot ever.
That's good to know. Yeah, the glasses are really nice. I think it started to become like a personal brand myself.
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
also a DevRel at Appsmith, and I've been doing some technical presentations and public speaking, and I started to use them just for sunglasses. And then people started to say, "Oh, they're so cool," and I started to use them more and more in my videos. And I think that became like a personal brand. So yeah, it's easy to spot the guy, the weirdo with sunglasses indoors. That's Kevin.
I might have to steal that, bro, because I do introductions and I'm always trying to look at the camera rather than looking at the script or the the stuff that I'm trying to read. And I think glasses might help me there.
That's definitely true as well.
Yeah. Awesome. So what's your background, Kevin? Tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, totally. So I've been doing development work for about 14 years, 15 years.
Mhm.
I started as a web developer doing some websites at that moment with jQuery and Flash, and then continued to grow my career as a developer, uh, from junior to senior, then tech leader, and then over the last 5 6 years, I've been doing more of a manager role,
Mhm.
CTO for some agencies in New York. And but in parallel to my development work, I've been always working with communities because I'm passionate
Mhm.
about it. And I think that the community at that moment where I started as a developer was doing Drupal websites as well. They helped me a lot, and I found in the community a lot of strengths. And I feel that giving back to the community is like giving back to myself, to that little kid who was trying to find his first job and get his journey on tech. So I'm definitely always contributing back to open source and communities, and somehow that got merged into DevRel, both
Mm.
things. And also I have a background in the film industry. I'm actually not an engineer per se, like I don't have a
Yeah.
degree as an engineer. My actual former education is on the film industry, cinematography. So I think everything like just combined together in DevRel. Like I've been doing video focused DevRel community engagement DevRel, and that's what I am right now. I
Yeah.
work for Appsmith, which is like, as you mentioned, a local platform that we're going to be showcasing today, but with tons of experience building enterprise software. So I'm capable of speak to so many of the pain points we're going to be talking today and how to solve them. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's who I am.
Awesome. That's a great introduction. And our paths are very similar. I think it's so interesting when you meet somebody that's got the ability to write code and go very deep technically, but also can be very communicative and develop content. It's that's awesome. So I want to dive into AppSmith, and we're going to get to how AppSmith and MongoDB work together, but I want folks to have a good understanding of what AppSmith is and what's kind of the sweet spot for using AppSmith. What are people using it for most? But let's start with like an overview of AppSmith.
Yeah, sure, totally. So, just to start with the history, like AppSmith was initially started by one of the co-founders and who's right now the CTO, Arpit Mohan, who has been a backend engineer for a really long time. And in fact, he and the AppSmith CEO, Abhishek, they co-founded two startups before AppSmith. And the motivation for AppSmith is actually really simple. As developers, IT leaders, and executives, we really need a way to develop, ship, and operate consistent, secure, and fast products that we have full control of it. That's the first portion that is super important, having full control of
Mhm.
it. And achieve the strategic goals from executives and accelerate digital initiatives. And if we take an umbrella look on how software is built at companies and enterprises, they all share certain characteristics. Yet development teams have to spend a lot of time setting up projects and development
Mhm.
features, and in the long term, it's hard to modify. You ended up with technical debt and some frustrations for sure. So what if, at that moment they thought, what if we could have a development environment that gives us full control and personalization, and that we can develop your own components as well with industry standards, connectors with multiple data sources and authentication methods that gives you full control. Like you can self-host it on your own infrastructure. You own their source code that you can put it on your own repositories, make it part of your CI/CD and all of your testing purposes, and also that have security certification like SOC 2 and things like that. And
Mhm.
it's open source, like literally it's under Apache 2.0. So that's literally what AppSmith is a developer focused local platform. There are plenty of local platforms over there that focus on people that are trying to avoid the development phase. They don't want to write code. They want to build something fast to put it in production. But when it comes to developers who are trying to ship faster but still have control, there was nothing in between. So that's what AppSmith is. It's at the end, it's a
Mm.
development ecosystem. I will say that rather than a platform like a cloud platform, I will say it's
Mhm.
a development ecosystem that you can build applications that you have control, so you have the speed to ship fast, but you have control to understand how everything works. And you can write your custom logic with JavaScript, connect your data sources, build your own custom widgets. Like if you use React or Vue or Angular or what have you, you can
Mhm.
still continue to use that. So at a glance, that's what AppSmith is.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like the ultimate sweet spot. I know low code environments that I've used in the past. I actually helped to build one way back when in the late 90s.
Oh, cool.
And the ultimate challenge was giving the developer the speed and flexibility without too many trade-offs, right? I want to be able to have an environment where I can develop an application, but still have complete control over the interactions, the user interface, and some of the business logic. And I found oftentimes with low-code solutions, you give some of that up to gain the benefit of speed and having components that are drag and drop. Yes, you can develop a really nice looking interface very quickly, but sometimes you lose the ability to control specific custom interactions like between fields. You want logic, that type of thing. How does AppSmith approach that kind of trade-off?
Yeah, so I think that the first thing is open source. The first thing they did and the co-founders, when they thought about building Appsmith, is it has to be open source
Mhm.
because it's for the developers by developers. So it has to be a tool that people can understand how it's built. Like there's
Mhm.
nothing obscure. That's nothing that you don't understand how it is. You can go to Appsmith repository on GitHub. You can see the roadmap, the code base behind it. It's completely well written. So that's the first thing. It has to give clarity for developers so you can gain trust. The second is to have full control of it, and it uses the tools that people already knows. In this case, MongoDB, like the infrastructure of Appsmith and the architecture of how it's built. It's completely open as well, and you can see the development architecture in our website. You will see that behind the scenes, it's just a MongoDB database, the Java process, which is the thing that manages the backend, and then it has like a real-time server in Node.js. It uses Redis as well, and it's all well
Mhm.
packed in a Docker image that you can run on a single command. It also has Kubernetes, Helm packages. It can run on AWS. You can find it on the AWS Marketplace, on Google Cloud Platform, on Azure, etc. So I think that's the first thing from the ground. Like you have to get full control. So it's not obscure, that you can run it on your own existing infrastructure, which is the
Mhm.
case for most of our customers, which, we have our cloud version that anyone can go to appsmith.com, create your free, forever free account, and start building apps in our cloud version. But most of the enterprise projects that we have had, they have to run it on their own infrastructure, connect it securely to their databases, that they don't have to
Mhm.
expose it to the internet. So I think that's the first thing for Appsmith. And second, obviously, giving the ability to, once you have the platform, you also need to have the capability to develop your own custom logic. Yes, we have a bunch of widgets, but normally there's no one size fit all. Every
Mm.
company needs some very specific development cycles, development tools, workflows, and custom logic. So that's what Appsmith is built for. The architecture and behind the scenes, open source, fully open. And also once you have it running, you also have the ability to fully control most of the things that are key for you, while we take care of the repetitive things that normally developers has, the connector to the
Mhm.
database, the authentication, like to keep the token, refreshing the token, the auth token, for example, things like that. Like every project has that, and every time developers have to build these repetitive tasks. So I
Mhm.
think that's why Appsmith is very unique in the spectrum of low-code platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're going to give viewers a peek at it shortly. Before we
Mhm.
jump into the demo, I want to share the link if you want to go check Appsmith out. There's a short link we've created. You can use that. I'm sure you can find it on Google as well. But there's also below in the description of the event or the video, there's links there. You can click through to check out Appsmith. There's a sign up page. I want to ask about MongoDB. Now, I know you can leverage MongoDB as a part of the applications that you're developing leveraging Appsmith, but how does Appsmith as a platform use MongoDB?
Yeah, so the great benefit of Mongo is that it's completely schemaless,
Hmm.
and the fact that you can bring so many data sources into Appsmith. Some of them are very structured, like MySQL or Oracle or SQL Server. Some of them are not structured, like MongoDB or any other schemaless product. Or some of them can be even SaaS products. You can connect other companies' products like Google Sheets or Airtable or something like that. So the fact that you have so many different data sources being able to connect to Appsmith, and you need a architecture that can support and scale that. So that's the first thing, that MongoDB is key for Appsmith. Like it
Mm.
powers the data structure to build all of these amazing applications. And anyone can try it out. Like right after this call, you can go and connect your database, and you might have a lot of rows, and you need to build queries against it. And you can also use Appsmith AI to help you build your queries. Like you will see instant results. You can deploy your
Mm.
app in less than 5 seconds, and you will have your app running, and everything is backed by the power of schemaless in MongoDB. So
Mm. Mhm.
literally every single Appsmith instance uses MongoDB behind the scenes to support all of the apps that you might have on your Appsmith project. So I think that's, first of all, the power of MongoDB powering Appsmith. And there's the other portion, which is like you can actually connect your databases, your MongoDB databases, in your Appsmith app. So it's not only powering Appsmith behind the scenes, but can also power your Appsmith application. So we have a connector for MongoDB. You can connect it very easily to MongoDB Atlas and start using all of its features like vector search and pulling all of your records and write very quick applications based upon your existing data. So I will say that the great benefit of MongoDB with Appsmith is that not only powers the actual app behind the scenes, and you can see how huge companies like Amazon, Dropbox, GCK uses Appsmith every day, but also you can connect your databases and build your own applications behind the scenes using MongoDB as well.
Yeah. Well, I love that that AppSmith supports multiple data sources in a single application. I think that's a huge benefit. And I want to learn more about how MongoDB is like the platform, not just the database, but some of the other offerings in the platform, like MongoDB's Atlas Search and Atlas Vector Search, are enabled through AppSmith. So I think we've done enough talking, Kevin. What do you say
Yeah,
we take the platform?
yeah, sure. Let's take a look at it.
All right.
Whenever you're ready. All right. So, yeah, that's AppSmith website, and once you go in there, you can sign up for your account, like I said. But you can also just check out the docs and see how easy it is to run it locally with Docker or in any of your choice cloud provider. So once you sign up, you will be able to use any authentication method like your Google account, and you will have your free to use forever AppSmith
Mhm.
infrastructure that we see right now. And once you go in there, you will see something called workspaces. So at the end, a workspace is a mechanism that you can share apps. So like we mentioned, you can have apps connected to multiple data sources, and every application that is in the same workspace, they will share these data sources behind the scenes. So you can have, for example, a marketing workspace that connects to, let's say, HubSpot or Salesforce, and
Mhm.
you can have other one for your internal IT development team that connects to your internal CRM or to your databases, or maybe you want to really build delivery pipelines, so you connect it to your databases. So at the end, a workspace is a way to group applications. You can have as many workspaces as you want, like as you can see, I have a lot of those,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then you can create your new application. So once you get in there, you will see like the development interface of AppSmith. At the left, you have what is the biggest group, which is the editor and the data. The editor is where you build your apps from a UI standpoint, from a custom business logic standpoint using JavaScript, and your queries, which is how you query the data that you have connected. And in the data section is where you bring your data sources. Also on the left, you will see libraries, and we will talk about this further on, but basically you can bring any JavaScript library of your choice. By default, we normally bring Lodash and Moment, but if you want, you can delete them, or you can bring any live JavaScript library of your choice. You just have to have access to, it's have to be public, and we recommend GSDeliver or any other way that you can have access to a JavaScript library. You can install it. And we also have recommended libraries that we know people tend to use a lot, like GS to PDF, parsers, UUID, etc. But at the end, what this means is that literally any UMD or ESM JavaScript library, which pretty much all of them out there are in this type of architecture, you can bring them in, use them in your application. And then you have your settings where you define things like your icon, your colors, your theme, your control access, because apps can be public, or you can share them publicly, or they can be private. So you can literally define who has access, and you can have multiple roles for different access levels. And you can use those roles in your business logic. So we can see that, for example, we can control how data is accessed based upon the role. And we can say, well, I don't want this piece of logic or this piece of functionality to be accessed in the application by certain roles. So you can build logic around that. The theme you can have, we have pre-existing themes that you can pretty much define your own theme. And again, when you're building your app, you can just use whatever you want to define the styling, the look and feel of your application. And for example, for custom widgets, which is something that is kind of new to the platform, you can just use, React, Vue, or whatever library that you want, and you can build your own CSS. So for example, here we have all of the different widgets that we support that we know a lot of people uses to build their internal enterprise apps. But if any of those are not fit for what you're trying to build, you can always use the custom widget, you drag and drop it, and then you will have full access to the code of that specific custom widget. So we have templates for vanilla JS, React, Vue, but literally, as you can see here, I'm just importing the library I want. I define the structure. I define the look and feel with standard CSS, and we also support Sass and the HTML structure of this custom widget. So it literally gives you the control over what you want to do. The other cool stuff is that it can be connected. It has multiple environments, and also you can connect it to Git. It could be a GitHub or Bitbucket or any Git provider, even your internal Git services. And literally, your Appsmith applications will be in source code. And you can, for example, create pull requests. You can understand the changes that are being made to your application, because everything we do in Appsmith literally becomes an application that can be put into source code because it's actually
Mm,
code.
mm.
So here in the
So
data
I,
is,
I want
yeah,
to I
go
want
ahead.
to stop. I want to. So I'm amazed so far. Like
Sure.
it's come a long way since the early days, and I love what I'm seeing so far. I love that you have complete control over the code, and I love the custom widgets. When I complete my application, I put it through some testing. At the other end, I get some code. Obviously, the code is it completely can I tell from the code by looking at it that it was generated by Appsmith? Are there additional libraries that you provide?
Um, no, I mean you can
Mm.
literally the outcome of the app is a standard application that you can
Oh,
host
beautiful.
anywhere.
Yeah.
And when you put it in source code, you will see that certain things, for example, your data sources and your widgets are controlled by a standard JSON. It's just a
Hmm.
JSON description that says, oh, this is your page one, and your page one has a custom widget, and that custom widget has this, properties. Everything is just
Hmm.
JSON. The
Yeah.
same day with databases, we obviously we don't store any type of security credentials or something like that. Everything is just
Hmm.
stored once in the database and encrypted, and you never can retrieve it back. But all of the description of your data sources are also on JSON, standard JSON files. So it's very easy, for example, to see changes. We have customers who use GitHub, and they can create a pull request. People can come up, make their reviews, and they can even just go to Appsmith. Once you connect your repository, you will see all of the branches, and you can easily change to one of your developers branches and see the changes they made, test it out, deploy it, because at the end you every application is deployable in a URL, and see the
Hmm.
changes. So it's great from a speed standpoint and quality control standpoint, because literally anyone can see the changes in real time, but it's everything on source code, so it's like a combination, a beautiful combination.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks amazing. So what are you going to show us today?
So I'm just going to show you something very simple, because we can be super extended, but we're just going to see how to create a connection to MongoDB, create a CRUD that has a table, and write custom JavaScript that actually connects to this data, uses this data, and you can build anything custom around your data definition. So here we have the way you connect to data sources. Once you go there, you bring your data, and you will see the most popular ones that we have. For example, REST API, any type of REST API with any type of the standard authentication mechanism like OAuth 2, basic authentication, user password, what have you, you can use with
Hmm.
REST API, Postgres, MySQL, MongoDB, which is obviously one of the most popular.
Hmm. Hmm.
We also support GraphQL, and you can see all of the other ones: MySQL, Elasticsearch, Redis, and all the ones that you can see here. Also SaaS integration, like you can integrate with your Lambdas functions, Google Sheets, HubSpot, Twilio. And also we have AI integrations, and we just launched Appsmith AI, which is a complete suite that requires no backend integration with any API token or secret or anything like that. You just use Appsmith AI. You don't need to build to bring your own, like Google Gemini or
Oh,
Anthropic or OpenAI. It's
yeah.
just you can start writing queries and generating content. So
I love that. That's I want to I want to learn more about that. That sounds phenomenal. So there's no API key. You're not leveraging a hosted model. What have you done? Like launched your own internal?
yes, basically, we have a combination of custom LLMs and also providers behind the scenes like Anthropic, Google Gemini, and OpenAI. And
Hmm.
depending on the service you want to use, because we have generative text, classification of image, and many other types of Appsmith AI products, behind the scenes, you will use the perfect fit product, whether if it's like a custom LLM or any of these integrations behind the scenes for you, but you don't have to worry about tokens, or you don't have to worry about like having your own API key and paying for those services. Like everything is given for you for free, and we can even give it a shot because it takes like 2 minutes to set it up. So it's
Hmm.
pretty cool. And we can
Yeah.
obviously use it with your databases. And actually I can show you how we can get data from MongoDB and pass it to Appsmith AI to, for example, generate, let's
Ooh.
say you have a database with some, I don't know, support tickets, and you need to
Hmm.
analyze the tone of it. What is the criteria? What is the urgency? Who is the user? You need to classify the text, basically. Like you can pass data
Hmm.
from your MongoDB to Appsmith AI and be classifying data in matter of minutes. So yeah, once you go into MongoDB, all you have to do is enter your credentials, and this is where, for example, you can just use the MongoDB string URI, and this you can use Mongo Atlas, and you will be connected to Mongo Atlas in a matter of seconds, and that's it. We don't again, we just store once your credentials, and you never anyone can retrieve this never again.
Hmm.
But for the sake of this demo, we can actually use one of the demos databases that Appsmith has. So sample data sources, we have a MongoDB sample data source, which is a
Hmm.
collection of movies. So you can use that if you want to try Appsmith, but you don't have a database, or you really don't want to like set up a full data structure with relations or whatever. You can just use the movies MongoDB and start working from there. So here we give you a sneak peek of the data on that database. In this case, it's just one schema, which is the movies, and you see information about these movies, like the title, homepage, etc., like how much money they made in revenue, what have you. So from there, you can build your own queries. You can write your MongoDB query, or you can use the generate new page. So this actually understands your data in your database, and it creates a full CRUD application for
Hmm.
you. Like I don't have to do anything. I can just go here, deploy my application, and I will have here, I can see the table of the data. Like I can also manipulate. So for example, if I want to actually show the genre, because this is a array of genres, I can just,
Hmm.
write my custom table cell for that specific table field, and that's it. And here I have, I can select any of this. I can create new genres. I can modify any of the data values in this database, and it's all connected to the backend database. You don't have to do anything. In a matter of seconds, we have our application, that our CRUD application, built on the top of MongoDB. But from there, you can do whatever you want. Like literally anything is obscure. You'll see the queries we created for you for that CRUD, and you can come it here and modify. For example, the find query. If you want to modify it by certain criteria, you just modify the query itself, the sorting, the limits, the skipping, and you can just run it and see how it works. And you see like a payload, actually payload. It looks very similar to like Postman or things like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So you can pretty much just see the preview of the data and then bind that data to any UI component of your choice.
Mm.
So now let's say I mean, that's cool. I can drag and drop more buttons and modify the look and feel of these buttons, etc. But what if you actually need to do something custom here? Well, you can just write your new JavaScript object, and in here you will be able to write pure JavaScript, and you can use any of the libraries that you bring here. So for example, if we want to use Moment EAS, which is a library for manipulating dates. And let's say I
Hmm.
want to manipulate the dates on the release date, because I don't know, maybe I want to have like a more human readable date. I can use Moment.js or bring any desired JavaScript library, and I will be able to use this moment variable and have access to the full Moment.js in my JavaScript files. So I can do that. Appsmith give us a very standard object structure, but we can just delete this. And from there, there's one of two options. Let's say you do know JavaScript, you build your functions, you can connect to your data sources. So let's say I have my function in here. Let's actually use the structure that we have here. We can have variables. So let's say, and I can access the databases or the data queries. So I have my find query, so I can reference that here in my function. I can just do find, and you will have autocomplete. You can find query that data, and there you have access to the data, and you can do anything to manipulate the data from the find query that you have to your MongoDB database. But in this case, let's say you don't have full knowledge about JavaScript, but it's not your language. You can just do Appsmith AI. You do /Appsmith AI, and you literally ask whatever you need. So the cool thing about Appsmith AI is that it's not just a regular prompt. It actually understands your data structures, your UI components, and what you're trying to achieve, and it's going to give you actual code that works for the things you're trying to build. So it's not like a generic, let's say, a ChatGPT question, how can I write JavaScript to do X, Y, and Z? Like you can actually ask things about your databases and your widgets. So I'm telling, hey, I want to use the find query that data to loop throughout the data and change the date fields using moment to a more readable value. So what AppSmith AI is going to do, which is still a beta function, but it's working pretty nicely,
Mhm.
it's going to check your data scheme. Your database is going to understand the query you have and what type of data comes on that payload. And it's going to understand also the UI components you have. And it's going to actually give you something useful that you can do. So I just, click that and I will be able to do AppSmith format date, or I can just do, for example, moment and pass the value and then the format that I want for that moment JS specific. So I can do month, the day, year. So just like that, without having any knowledge, I just have a piece of code that basically find the data from my database. And then once it have it, it's going to iterate throughout all of them, access the item that release date, and using moment.js is going to override it with a more readable format
Mhm.
data. And now I can just give it a name to this. Let's say utils. And I can run utils that my func or whatever name we can give it date format. And from there, we can just go to any place. For example, the UI. Let's say, let's bring a button here. And for this button, I'm going to put it here. Now, because the page is so zoomed in, it's probably going to look pretty bad.
Mhm.
But for this button, I can define what's going to do, like the label. And then for the on-click event, I can do one of the things. If I click the JavaScript button, literally, I have an evaluation JavaScript here. Or I can just toggle that off and say, I want to execute a query or a JavaScript, so I can pick any, for example, delete query or find query, execute a JavaScript function, and in this case, I can call util and date format. And just like that,
Mm.
when I click that button, it's going to format the data because it's going to execute this piece of code. So what we can
Mhm.
see here is that I have full control of the logic, the UI. AppSmith gives me the tools, but I can just literally build the page myself, bring the table widget, the buttons the way I want it. Like the CRUD page is awesome because it gives you something to work out of the box. Like the table have search in it, filters you can download. And again, all of this is completely, you can build logic around, for example,
Mhm.
the role. Let's say I don't know, I don't want AppSmith that, I can do logic around AppSmith that role, AppSmith that user, sorry. And then that user will have roles or groups they will belong. So I can just do logic around this. If the role is not admin or is not WAG, X, Y, and Z roles that you have defined, you can have custom logic and define actions that is only allowed to certain users. So it's a complete suite that gives you full control of the code. And then I can just put into source code and deploy this application, share with my team, and have a prototype in matter of minutes that I can share with my executives, put it into test, see how it works, and have value feedback. Because like at the end, what we're trying to do at rapid development is go to market quickly, fail fast, fail often, understand how our users behave. And if we have to spend 3 months to build an app to put in front of users versus spending 1 week to have a fully working prototype that is connected to your data, that's where the value is it's seen. And when you put that to your IT lead or to your executives, there's a lot of value in AppSmith for sure. And this is just
Mhm.
the tip of the iceberg.
Wow, what a fun product, though. I mean, literally in minutes, you've developed a full CRUD application with customizations. Really incredible, really nice UI. I love the I don't know, the logical flow that the app takes. So
Yeah,
amazing.
we have been working a lot in the UI and in understanding what's the best suiting mechanism for developers to build their applications and have a good, separation of concerns and having a very the best UX for the product. And if you see AppSmith like 6 months ago, visually speaking, it's a very different product from what it is today because we have been taking seriously the developer comfort, the developer real estate, so they can actually build something that is easy for them to understand and to digest. And the cool thing for me, and it's what really gives power to Appsmith. Like I don't just work for Appsmith. I mean, I literally use Appsmith in my day to day because I think it's a great product. Is that you can bring as many data sources and just connect all of them in one single logic. So literally, if you have, for example, here any other data source, let's say I have a Google Sheet, so I can bring the data from MongoDB and Google Sheets and have custom
Mhm,
logic or build a migration tool or etc. Like having the ability to pull all your data into one single place and have custom logic around it without having to worry about the connection, the authentication key, what have you. Like it's super
mhm,
powerful, but yet you have control to what it matters, which is the actual custom logic. And you can build your own custom UI if you need. Like if you have, like, let's say a design team that give you a market that you need to follow, like you can literally do that. You can write custom CSS or build your own theme with your colors, your fonts, your font sizes,
mhm.
your spaces, what have you. So it is truly powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just looks so amazingly powerful. The comments are coming in. Um,
Cool.
yeah. Thanks for your comment. To Selim. Yeah, this really is incredible. So the sample database that's built into Appsmith, is that an instance specifically for my user? Let's say I delete out of that.
Yes, it is. It is,
Okay.
and it's Mongo Atlas.
Okay. Fantastic. And that's
So that's
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 just
the cool thing. Like I can just, for example, delete this row in
mhm,
my app, and it's actually going to delete. And it's basically a copy. Whenever you create your sample database here, it's going to copy the sample MongoDB schema that we have
mhm.
into your own like connection UD, and then you can work out of that. And if you delete your data source, it's going to be deleted. So yeah, it's a full playground. And we also have the one for Postgres database. So if you also want to give it a shot to have a database of users using PostgreDB, like that's also something you can use.
Fantastic. Well, that's great. You must have a blast demoing this for customers. Um,
Yes.
speaking of demoing, I want to give a banner. If folks want to see you or more about AppSmith, you've got a YouTube channel. Uh, how often are you showing this to folks? It must be a blast to take this on the road.
Yeah, it is definitely like I wish I could have more time and split myself into three different Kevins because I have like a huge queue of videos because like the platform is so big and it has
Yeah.
so many capabilities that we constantly publish videos. If you go to the YouTube channel in YouTube, you will see
Hmm.
that normally we have videos published weekly. Just last week we
Hmm.
published 3 videos because we launched like the custom widgets, and we have a series of videos, and that's something we try to achieve as well. We introduced Appsmith AI. We just don't showcase the product, but also we gave a full tutorial on how to use Appsmith AI one by
Hmm.
one, how to generate text. The same thing with custom widgets. And I go live every Thursday with,
Hmm.
not only showcasing the product, but also understanding the business value. We bring customers for use cases. We bring our CEO to review the product roadmap, which is also available on GitHub. And if you think that some of the features that you need are really needed, you can just go to the product roadmap and see where we're building, and definitely understand where the product is heading. And you can participate. Like if you want to, you can just
Mm.
pull the code and close your first bug. That will be awesome. But yeah, definitely go to YouTube. You will see a lot of different playlists for self-hosting AppSmith. You will see in the self-hosting AppSmith section, we have the one for MongoDB, how you can run not only AppSmith using the standard embedded MongoDB database on the Docker image, but also using MongoDB Atlas as the
Hmm.
backend for your AppSmith instances, how to securely host it in your private network, because like privacy is super important. For example, let's say that you don't want to expose your database open publicly so you can access it on AppSmith. So AppSmith will provide a set of IP addresses that you can securely
Hmm.
use your tunnel. So for example, you have MongoDB, we give you, this is the IP address you have to whitelist to connectly secure to your database. But if that's not good enough, you can self-host AppSmith on your infrastructure and define, let's say, a VPC or a cloud router or what have you. And
Mm.
you can do all of that with MongoDB. We have a lot of tutorials, so you can check that out. And if you need something, let me know. We are on Discord, and I can, build a demo and build a video for it. You can also go to the community portal, which is community.appsmith.com, And there you will see, for example, upcoming events that we have. For
Hmm.
example, we have in-person events. We have one in Bangalore happening this week. We have also one live stream happening this Thursday, and then we have Appsmith Build, which is a spring launch where we'll be unveiling some of the biggest features that we have been working over the last few months. But
Hmm.
from there, you can see a lot of content tutorials that me and my team were constantly building and writing for everyone. And yeah, the conversation happens over there. It will be great to have any of you try an AppSmith, like literally try for free, connect your data source or use the sample data sources, give it a shot, deploy it, share it with your peers, and let me know what you think.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Just a wonderful demo. Thank you so much for taking time to do that.
Sure.
I also wanted to talk a little bit about MongoDB's community creator program. I understand you're part of that program now. Welcome, welcome to the MongoDB community.
Thank you. Yeah, I just joined.
Yeah, yeah. Well, fantastic. It's great to have you aboard. And so, are you spending time in the forums? Are you talking to other people about how to use MongoDB in AppSmith?
Yes, exactly. My goal by being a community member, a MongoDB community member, is that Mongo is such a great product in general,
Mhm.
not only for the database products, but also like vector search and all of the cool features that it has, that just creating videos for the general terms on how to connect AppSmith with MongoDB is not enough. So the
Yeah.
idea for me is that I become an advocate for the MongoDB users into AppSmith,
Mm.
because there is a lot of things that you can do, and the product is such a big thing, as you can notice, that just creating the standard tutorials like we do for other providers, because we have more than 30 connectors out of the box. So I have to take care about building integrations for Postgres, for all of the other ones.
Hmm.
But for us, since MongoDB is such an important product because it not only powers AppSmith itself, but also multiple of our customers, we want to build, and I want to personally build more videos and more tutorials and content, not only in an AppSmith community portal and the AppSmith YouTube, but also on the MongoDB forums. So that's why I encourage everyone who's watching this to go to the forums and start following all of the topics that we're going to be sharing about how to build your applications using the data that you already have in your Mongo databases to power your internal apps and your dashboards and your AppSmith applications. Because as it is great platform and give you a lot of control, it's also complex. At a point you
Yeah.
can have a lot of questions. How can I do X, Y, and Z? And while we have great documentation and everything, since we give you a lot of the control, we don't do a lot of things for you. Also, that gives a lot of open questions. So that's why I encourage everyone to join the MongoDB forums and our
Hmm.
different channels, because we're going to be going in depth into MongoDB specifics functionalities using AppSmith as well.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So I'm tempted to ask a little bit about um, AppSmith AI and MongoDB. How much does AppSmith AI know about MongoDB?
It knows pretty much a lot of
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
You can pretty much ask anything about it. So there's I will say there's a differentiator between AppSpeed AI as a co-pilot that can helps you write JavaScript or can
Hmm.
helps you to build queries, not only for MongoDB but also for any type of the data sources. So that's one thing that's built into AppSmith, both the free cloud version and also the enterprise editions and business editions, but
Hmm.
also as a data source. So once you go into your data source and you connect AppSmith AI, you
Hmm.
have the capability of just give it a name. Let's just call it AppSmith AI. And you can upload files, but that's not necessary. So, for example, if you want to build a text summarization or let's say a smart contract product, you can upload as many files, PDFs, spreadsheets, what have you, for it to ask for you to ask questions. So, for example, we have customers who have a lot of contracts, and then you have open cases, and you can ask AppSmith AI, based upon this contract and based upon this case I have, what will be a good recommendation. But it's
Hmm.
not necessary. Like, you can do it, but it's not necessary. You can just upload whatever file you want. Let's
Hmm.
say, I think I have one around here. I think it's around here. I don't know. I think I had like a contract, but if not, we can just go without it. And
Hmm.
once you save that data source, you will be able to build query against the data source. So I can come here to the query section, create a new query, and Appsmith AI query, and from there you can ask what type of action you want. You want to generate text, classify text, summarize text, extract entities from text. So any of the ones that you chose, for example, extract entities from text, you will have a example for it. You can just click it and you will see this example is about our customer support. And here I have this customer support message. So it's hard
Mhm.
coded, but the cool stuff is that you can use the data binding at any portion of
Ah,
your Appsmith app.
so
So
interpolation.
yeah, you just do double, sorry about this, double curly brackets, and you have access to anything. It could
Mm.
be another data source, it could be a UI field. So let's say you have an UI field and you have a input type here, just an input text. And I'm gonna put, I don't know, just down below here. Every widget in AppSmith has an ID. So let's say I'm
Mhm.
gonna give it a question ID. And then all I have to do is in my query, just reference that question, that text. So I can do interpolation of anything, or if I already
Mm.
have my MongoDB database, I can just do my find query that data, which is the one that we use. And here we have a sneak peek of the array of data, which is the array of movies that we have been using throughout this demo.
Mm.
And for example, one of the things that I built, and it's actually on YouTube, is how we can use Appsmith AI and a MongoDB database, this sample database, to write a movie summarizer and a movie critic agent. So what we do is that we pass all of this information, the movie title, the tagline, the description, the IMDb score, the revenue it made,
Mhm.
and I ask it to give us a summarization of the movie, a categorization, and so on and so forth. But you can use the example that we have here, which is hard coded, and then you can define what entities you wanted to extract from it and any additional instructions. Like you're unable to extract the entity, respond with not found. So you can actually try it out. And as you can see, I haven't inputted any API key,
Mhm.
any API, any secret so far.
Mhm.
And I can see the response. I can see that from this specific message that we had hard coded, but it could be anything else. We got the following things found, which is the name, who's Mark, the address, which is this, the account number, and the gender, which is not found. So I
Mm.
can very easily, without having to integrate anything, have access to it. And then
Mm.
the same way interpolation, you have to pass data to your query. You can also pass it to your widget. So I can just come to my text widget and do the name of my widget, which I don't remember what it is. It's query one. Let's give it a better name. Appsmith AI. Let's call it like that. APAI. So I can just come here to my text widget and do APAI, that data, that response, and I will have the response of the output. And I can do, for
Mhm. Mhm.
example, a JSON parse here.
Mhm.
So I can parse that as a JSON, and that's it. I can literally do whatever I want with any of those
Mm.
values. So long story short, interpolation can be passed throughout any of the different layers of Appsmith. It could be a query or a JSON object. I can also call this a specific query to analyze text at the moment that I want, not just specifically running manually. I can just do the same thing. I can call that specific function here, API that run, and I can pass some parameters, and it's going to execute that at the moment that I want using JavaScript. So I can pass, for example, here in the run, then I can just pass the item of the database, in this case, the movie, that any of the fields, let's say title or name, and I will have evaluation by using the Appsmith AI classification feature from the database that I have in my MongoDB in just 6 lines of code. And I will be able to classify the text from my MongoDB's database. And all I have to do is just use here params, and the name of the param that I want. And basically, I will be able to pass parameters to this API, Appsmith AI, from
Mhm.
JavaScript. And here I'm passing the item that title, and I can pass as many parameters that I want. I, I build the structure of my query, my classification query, and that's it. And I can do the same for summarization of text. For example, I have this customer support conversation, and I can just classify the text of this specific text. And again, this is hard coded for testing, but you can pass any data from your databases. And in this case, you have the response, Bob's experiencing difficulties, log into this account, X, Y, and Z. And the same thing for any of the other actions. For example, classifying images. You can have a
Mm,
bunch of images on your databases and you want to classify those images. For example, product category. You can pass input, and again, this can be interpolation of data here. You can pass dynamic data to it. But in this case, for the example, we have this hard-coded image, just for the sake of the example, which is like a jacket.
mhm, mhm,
And then you can ask, provide what type of labels it fit. Is a jacket, is a shirt, is a pant, is a t-shirt, and I can just run it, and it's going to be analyzing the image against the different labels that I'm trying to search for, and it give me a classification of this image. So it's definitely, for example, if you have an internal tool that you need to build, for example, for asset tagging, which is another example that we have. So there
mhm,
you go. I classify the image as a jacket, which is completely true. And so, long story short, you can easily bring any of the different AI capabilities that exist on the market without having to worry about tokens, about API keys or secrets, and put it in your
mhm,
Appsmith application to work with your data. Just you can see, we can bring the data from your databases and
mhm,
make smart AI, generative AI features in your Appsmith application. So that's pretty amazing from from
mhm.
not only my standpoint, but all the customers who have actually used Appsmith AI so far.
Yeah. Wow, I'm just blown away. It really looks like a phenomenal platform. I can't wait to dive back in and mess with the Appsmith AI features. Anything coming down the pike that you want to talk about? Anything on the roadmap that's really exciting?
Yes, so actually next month we have the Appsmith Build event, which is actually going
Mhm,
to be going over some of the features that we have. You can find that in our community portal in the events section. You can see all of the different events, but in March 19 and 20th, you will be having the Appsmith Build launch, and you
mhm,
will be able to sneak peek on some of the apps, some of the features that we're launching. For example, a lot of the different things that a lot of customers are asking is reusability. So you have this JavaScript logic here for your movies. Just spend some time writing that piece of JavaScript. It will be nice to package it in a
mm,
reusable format that you can use across multiple applications. That's going to be available, not only reusable JavaScript, but also reusable queries. So all of the, let's say, all of the effort I spend building my queries, I can just reuse these queries to other products, to other Appsmith applications without having to rewrite them. So that's
mm,
pretty cool. Reusability is coming for Appsmith. And the other thing, which is very powerful, and just to sneak peek, because we're going to talk about a lot in Appsmith about it. So I don't want to like really, um, be a spoiler, but workflows are coming up, and workflows are amazing because you can define certain workflows that happen behind the scenes without you having to worry about them executing them manually.
mhm,
So let's say you need to execute a MongoDB query whenever something happens at a given moment. You just define your workflows, and they're going to be triggering whenever you define them to trigger, basically. So
mm, mhm.
that's something that a lot of customers has been asking. But again, you can go to GitHub and see the public roadmap. Everything on the product itself is completely open source, and you can see where the product is heading to.
Fantastic. Wow. Well, we're just about out of time. I've really thoroughly enjoyed the demo, and like I said, I really can't wait to jump back in. I've got a couple of ideas that I'm gonna be working on. But Kevin, is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we begin to wrap up?
No, I think that it's great that everything we have shared. Actually, I think I
Mm,
packed a lot of things
you
in a
did.
single call. Like whenever we have a customer call, we try not to overload with functionalities and features. I try to actually I know that your audience is very technical, so I know they're capable of digesting all of this and be amazed about the product. That's
Yeah.
the goal that I had, and actually give it a shot. I encourage everyone to create an account, bring your MongoDB database into Appsmith, start building awesome applications that can be used internally or externally. As you can see, you can have full control on your internal teams, but also you can share them publicly. And one last thing I wanted to share, which is I forgot to mention, is applications can be forkable. So that's great
Mhm.
because we have a lot of applications built for multiple providers. So let's say you
Mhm.
use Salesforce or use MongoDB, you can go to the Appsmith website and find templates. And also, when you create your application, you're able to find templates. So you don't have to start from scratch. You can just build, let's say you have your database on MongoDB, you find for templates from MongoDB, and you just put your connection string, and you will be able to have a full suite of JavaScript objects and UI components that are built on the top of your data. We have a bunch of dashboards with graphs. I didn't have the chance to expand on graphs, but we have a
Mm.
huge graphic library to build graphs. And so in the templates, you will be able to find a lot of templates, and you can create your own forkable templates. Every month we have a monthly contest. This month is AI, so anyone who builds a AI template and share on the community portal, they can win prizes. Next month is going to be other topic, and so on and so forth. Every month we have topics, and at the end it's just the community users who use Appsmith and say, oh, for example, I don't know, I integrated Appsmith with this product that, I don't know, no code database or any REST API service that is out there, and I build a template. So that's great because you can share your template for
Mm.
other members to start, not start from scratch, but start from a template, and you can win swag and other prizes. So definitely check out also the template so you don't have to start from scratch if this is new to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Terrific. Well, speaking of swag, we'll have to get you a MongoDB podcast T-shirt.
That'll be
That'll be in the
awesome.
works.
That'll be awesome.
All
Yeah.
right. All right, Kevin. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. I'll encourage the folks that are watching, visit appsmith-signup, mdb.link/appsmith-signup. If you're interested in starting your journey with MongoDB, MongoDB Atlas, here's a link for you, appsmith-atlas. It's going to get you to the Atlas registration page. And of course, you can start for free. Um, I think that's everything. Kevin, thanks, brother.
No, thank you, Michael. Definitely, I had a wonderful time today, and all the conversations we had. I think we had a great synergy, and hopefully, we'll be able to talk in the future. And anyone who wants to connect on LinkedIn with me, I
Mhm.
love having conversations. So find me on LinkedIn and ask whatever questions you want. It has been a pleasure, Michael, and thank you also for representing such an amazing organization with which empowers Appsmith to be a great product.
Right on. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye bye, everyone.